I'm going to pop the following dimensions in for the floor plan, and because it's a floor plan, we need to keep in mind what it is we're actually dimensioning. We're dimensioning the walls and sometimes the joinery outlines, but today I'm just going to be doing the walls and the floors. Walls, floors, and then the openings within it. So if I come up to the Annotate tab, you can see that there's my Align tool, or I can type in DI, or I can click on this little hot tool shortcut key up the top here. And I need to make sure that I choose the correct options before I start. Sometimes it's easy enough to change them afterwards, not in this case. Now I'm changing this from wall faces to faces of core. Even though it doesn't make a difference, this is the one that is actually correct. And it's important to remember what it is that we're dimensioning. Let me just go back a little minute. You can see that if I select this wall, the wall that we created was a stud timber 90. That means it's used a timber stud that is 90 millimeters thick. And it hasn't allowed for 10 millimeters of plasterboard either side of the wall. And if it had, that wall would be 110 mil thick. Now the reason why we've done this is because when the builder is on site, they put, after the floor is down, the walls will go in, and those walls get measured from frame to frame. So they don't worry about the plasterboard at that stage. The plasterboard just goes on afterwards, wherever the walls happen to be. So I am using faces of core because if there were some extra finishes added to this wall, which happens sometimes, it would be the structural part of the wall, the core, that I would want to dimension to. I'm leaving it at individual references, and you can see that I'm clicking on the face of the wall. I know it's selected because that line is blue. And then that side, I'm zooming in, I'm making sure I get exactly what I need. You do not want to be clicking on the wrong thing. I'm using my pan button to move across, so that's depressing the wheel. And then when I'm finished my string of dimensions, and you do want to do them all in the one command, I'm going to click in a blank spot to position it. Now the next option we can use, which I think you're going to like, is entire walls. Now this works well depending on your floor plan, so let's just have a look at how we can edit it. If I click on Edit Walls, I need to make sure that I go into the options and choose how I'm doing it. So the principle of this is if I click on a wall, in the case of intersecting walls, every single wall that intersects, so if I choose this wall, that wall, that wall, that wall, and that wall all intersected and therefore will be dimensioned. I'm only doing one of these options at a time. Right, now you can see as I click this wall, as soon as I click the highlighted blue wall, watch what happens. You can see that the entire wall is, hang on, I've made a mistake. You see here that I've got 90 and actually want the thickness like this one to show. So I'm going to do that again. Actually, I'll leave that up there so you can see the difference. I'll change that back to wall faces because Revit understands through the way we've created this wall is that this is the structural element and this is the finish. That's why that behaved like that. So I'll do that again. Sorry. That's better. Okay, now this is terrific. It does two things. It makes sure that it only picks up the wall element, when in fact we need to be quite careful. In places like here, you can see that the joinery is hard up against that wall, and if that joinery wasn't created hard up against that wall, there may be another line only 1 millimeter or 10 millimeters away, and we could click on it accidentally. So this ensures we're clicking on what we're meant to, which is the walls. Now the problem with this is that it may not pick up dimensions that we need to show in that particular string. So just to recap on dimensioning, we start down here in the middle. So we slice through here and we pick up every wall that we've got all the way through there. And if there was something else going on, we'd do another line, and then we'd take the dimensions through here and we'd do the wall openings, and then we finish with an overall which sits on top. On the bottom half, it works that we take it, well, it's not quite half, but you can see this is where the other part of the floor plan happens. So you can see that they've taken and where the stairs are, and then an overall. In this situation, we've got the hallway, and then the window openings. So I've got a handout on just to help refresh your memory when you're trying to remember which dimensions go where, but essentially you start in the center and you finish at the outside. So as I was saying, it picks up all of the intersecting walls, but sometimes you want more than that. Maybe I want to include this little nib here as part of those dimensions above, but because it's obviously not, this wall's nib doesn't intersect that wall, then it doesn't pick it up. So what I'm going to do is add a dimension in. Now the hard bit is just remembering which bit you click first. I want to click on the dimension, and then you can see in the contextual tab I get an edit witness line, and then I can come down and I can click on the edge, and I've now added 700. I can also use dimension entire walls, annotate, aligned, and go back to the options, and this time I'm picking openings and unchecking intersecting walls and changing it to width. So what it's going to do is that every opening on this wall, i.e. the windows in this situation, get dimensioned. Right, so that one should sit up there. You'll notice that the dimensions snap into position because in the edit type that there's a centimetre between each one, or 10 mil as we print. And then of course the last one, I'm changing it back to individual references, should be our overall sitting on top, and I'm also going to take into consideration the edge of the floor of the deck. I can also subtract by using the same command. I mean subtract a dimension. I might not want this covered one in here, so if I click on the dimension line, up pops my edit witness lines in my contextual tab, and can you see that everything that was previously selected, every face that was previously selected is blue, and as long as I click smack bang over the top of that blue line, it will subtract that dimension from that dimension string.